Hello and welcome. I'm Lloyd and this is the Dressing Gown Diary last preview show of the 2014 Six Nations. What a cracking round of matches the fourth round presented with us. We saw Ireland really open up, score massive points against a tiring Italian side. We saw Scotland dominate France and somehow lose. And then we saw a Welsh team completely dismantled at Twickenham, unfortunately by an improving England side. So let's talk about some of the games that are coming, the last round of games that are coming up this weekend. Italy versus England. England know that to have any chance of winning the Six Nations, they have got to pile the points on. They will be gun-ho, they'll be throwing the ball around. Italy, they're looking at a whitewash. What can they do? Can they really front up against England? The last few trips England have made to Rome have been very, very tight affairs. Couple of points here, 5 points there. However, this is a very, very different English side that are travelling to Rome. I mean, certainly how the maturity they showed in beating Wales. I would point out that both tries were somewhat on the opportunistic side. Danny Kerr, obviously a quick tap penalty. I'm sure Sean Edwards glassed the defensive team for not picking him up. And then the second try was from a missed line out from Hibbard. So in terms of the progression England are making, they're moving forward, but they still didn't break Wales down in open play. Luther Burrow was a little bit unlucky not to score, but he ran out of space in the corner. But at the end of the day, though, they still won by 11 points. And that's all you have to do. You're moving forward, you're progressing, seeing how the opposition go. I was fortunate enough to be at the game, and I'm sure there were a lot of you that were watching the game live as well. The scrum has become a joke. Romain Poite, in fact, all top-level refs, it's really difficult to follow now. It's not a sport that you can explain to, say, I don't know, let's say a Brazilian. How does rugby work? I've no idea. What happens in the scrum? Well, basically, they just seem to whistle by flicking a coin and then deciding it's a penalty that way or a penalty that way. I mean, as an example, the scrum that Gethin Jenkins was actually sin-bin for, I think there was an early engage from England. You see Danny Kerr take 2 steps to his left and then try and put the ball in. But anyway, look, we won't cry over spilt milk. England were the better team and won, and I see them winning easily against Italy at the weekend, but I don't think they're going to have enough to win the title, and we'll come on to that. So the next game up in Cardiff, again, I'll be lucky enough to be there. I'll be watching it with Dobbo. And unfortunately, we were hoping that this would be the Grand Slam tour. And clearly, it's a game for nothing. Wales will hope that they can win all of their home games. Scotland will hope that they somehow find a way of winning a match, closing it out. The game they beat Italy with was the last-minute drop goal, and they lost to France in the last minute. So maybe there'll be action in the last minute. And certainly, a few seasons ago when Scotland visited, Wales were dead and buried by two tries and then scored both in overtime pretty much. So I'm glad to see that Gatland has shook the pack a little bit. Priestland for me is not Test standard. He was one of the main reasons that Wales couldn't get their backline firing on Sunday. He's too slow. His kicking was not deep enough, or it was too deep. It was just poor. The accuracy was low, and even from hand, he doesn't have the same power that, say, a Dan Biggar does. He can kick much further. As fans of the Dressing Gown Diary will know, I'm not a big Reece Priestland fan, and I would have had Biggar in for the whole season. So I'm glad to see that he's given his opportunity now. I'm surprised to see he's retained Gethin Jenkins in the front row and rested Adam Jones, but both those players are on the wrong side of the age group now, coming forward to the 2015 World Cup. So I think Gatland wants an opportunity to look at these players before, obviously, the summer tour to South Africa. Scotland, they've played players out of position. They've dropped their captain. They've dropped their 2 best players, and Richie Gray and Hoggs play. I don't know what Scotland will turn out, but what I do know is that Cardiff on match day will be a great occasion, regardless of the fact that there's not really that much riding on this game. The game that is most important for me for this weekend is the final match of the Six Nations. It's France against Ireland. Brian O'Driscoll, an absolute masterclass last weekend in his final home game ever of the Six Nations. Offloads, lines of running, opportunities. He was superb. If he can carry that through to this weekend, well, he's going to blow France away on his own. What I like the way Ireland did as well, they're under a bit of pressure against Italy. They conceded a try, but they kept their head and then scored, piled on the points late on, kept driving, kept going, knowing that this championship is probably going to come down to points. France, well, this is one of the worst French sides that I think I can remember, but yet they are still in with a shout of winning the title, if a small chance, because they would have to thump Ireland and hope that Italy beat England, which I can't really see happening. But France, traditionally they've always won the tournament after the Lions, and stranger things could happen. But for me, this is all about Ireland. They've only won twice in Paris in the last 30 years, but for me, this is where it's going to happen. They are going to win. Ireland are going to win the Six Nations, unfortunately, and they'll do it on points difference. So for me, and for Freddie this week, Freddie's Flutter is back Ireland, and you can get 10-3 on some of the markets at the moment, so there's certainly value in that bet. But for now, this is the Dressing Gown Diary. I'm heading down to Cardiff shortly. You have a great weekend watching the rugby, and we'll speak later. Thank you.